There's never a dull moment in Turkish football. Hopefully, Koray Palaz can help us understand what's going on. So, Koray, always great seeing you on Beyond the Game. What's going on? What has led to this decision where they have abandoned relegation? Talk to me.
Sam, firstly, it's a surprise by everybody because this was surely not expected. Because you can't abandon the relegation and have 3 teams being promoted at the same time, because that just gives a lot of extra fixtures all of a sudden. So what led to this decision? Ultimately, you can only point it down to one thing, which is the coronavirus. However, the planning and the structure of it seems unbelievably wrong. I mean, you've got 37 weeks that you can play, but you've got in excess of 50 to 55 games. How are they going to do this? It's beyond my understanding.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, how will it all work? I mean, the calendar is already packed as it is. I mean, have you heard anything in your circles about how it might work?
Well, it's quite simple. The way they're going to have to do this is put, similar to Premier League, they're going to have to put midweek games on. However, then you've got the big debate of how do you schedule the Champions League, the Europa League, the Turkish Cup, as well as the league. I think there's a lot that remains to be seen. At the end of the day, like I said, there's a lot of fixtures. It's going to be a big challenge for Turkish football, for the Turkish Football Federation, and for the clubs. It's a massive country. There's a lot of travelling to be done, and you're competing in Europe. So, and also in terms of the broadcasters' point of view, currently the Champions League and the Europa League broadcasters, they also broadcast the league. So how would you how would you put a game on a Wednesday, Thursday, when you've got Champions League and Europa League on at the same time, as well as the league, as well as the cup? I'm trying to make sense.
You actually do make sense. And I'm trying to think, okay, how is it going to all work out? But I have a feeling, knowing how things work anyway, they will find a way. Something will happen. Let's move on to another huge discussion. The new foreign player rule. Now, I just want to actually go through the rules for any of the viewers who don't know what it is. Now, teams are now allowed to sign 14 foreign players, but only 8 foreigners are allowed in the starting 11. And by 2023, the number of foreign players allowed will be reduced to 10. Now, this has caused some controversy. I mean, what are your views about it?
If you look at it from a club's point of view, it's quite simple. You make plans to sign the number of foreign players, which allows you, which up until this season it was 14, and you could field 11 players. However, as of next season, it's going to change. Now, this is a difficult period to plan for because you've made your plans, you sign your contracts accordingly. So for it to be chopped and changed every season or every other season, it causes massive problems for the clubs, which ultimately leads to financial problems. So therefore, it's very confusing. But at the end of the day, the Turkish Football Federation makes these decisions, and you have to plan very, very carefully. Today you could have 14 players, tomorrow it could be 10, and the next day it could. They just need to get their plans in order. If they want to get their plans in order and stick to a plan rather than having a B, C, D plan along the way, it will make life a lot easier for the clubs, because it is a very difficult time for the clubs to prepare for this.
Indeed, and it's always been a huge topic of discussion when it comes to the Turkish Super Lig or Turkish football in general about the foreign rule. Look, why has it always been a bone of contention within the industry?
I think it's a very contradictory situation for Turkish football altogether. If you look at the current national team, you will see that you'll see a lot of Turkish homegrown talented players who are competing in Italy, who are competing in England, in France, in Germany. So ultimately, even though the foreign rule is free, as in you can have 14 players, 11 playing at a time, no problem, we seem to have the rotation of this rule, because a lot of the Turkish talented young players have actually gone abroad to show their skills, to show, they can compete at the highest level, which ultimately has affected the national team in a positive way. However, at the same time, this is where the contradiction begins, because by limiting the number of foreign players, it's now going to be people think that these players are going to, the clubs are going to think that these players are going to stay at home and play for the local clubs. I don't think that's going to be the case from now on. I think there's going to be more and more players coming through, because the level of competition and the exposure that they will get on the world stage is much more greater. So the foreign rule has always been a contradiction in Turkey. Even the national team manager, Şenol Güneş, when he was in charge of a club, he was telling a different story. Now he's in charge of the national team. He's got a different story going on. I think it's just never going to end.
Well,
by the sound.
Just to expand on that, I mean, from where I'm sitting as, I suppose, a foreigner looking inside, Turkish football, there doesn't seem to be any kind of structure within the industry or within Turkish football right now. When you look at the main clubs, they're in massive debt. So you have new rules coming in. People aren't agreeing with it. I mean, what needs to happen to make sure that Turkish football has a strong future going forward in such unprecedented times?
Samantha, I think the issue here is this. We are going to get there. We seem to be heading in the right direction. It's just there are some obstacles along the journey all the time, and this is why it causes setbacks. However, I do think we are going to get there slowly. We're bringing different caliber of coaches. We're doing different style of coaching. The player development has changed. The infrastructure is definitely, for sure, changing in a positive way. It's just that these daily problems, and sometimes it extends to weekly problems, this is where we need to sort these things out. Because once these things are sorted out, we've got enough and huge potential, unbelievable talent to go on to the next stages, to go on to bigger and better leagues, to compete in European championships, to even actually compete and become a household name in the world of football. We just need to take each day as it comes and come up with solutions. However, we just need to plan our solutions even on a better scale. And that's going to be the way forward for Turkish football.
That and patience, of course. Going back to what you said about the calibre of coaches, we're going to end on a positive note here. Eddie Newton has just sealed the deal and he's the new Trabzonspor manager. Look, you know him very well. What can he bring to the side for the new season?
I think, just going back to early on what we spoke about, bringing different caliber of coaches, even to bring in somebody like Eddie Newton, who's worked at Chelsea for a number of years, who's had a successful career as a player and who's had a successful career as an assistant manager under Roberto Di Matteo, Jose Mourinho, Frank Lampard, and, these are big household names. Even to have that vision as a club, I think is a massive step for Trabzonspor. Not just for Trabzonspor, but you can see other clubs are also looking at these kind of coaches. And Eddie, it comes with vast experience. He's been in the game for a number of years. And I'm very happy for him because it's a great opportunity for him. And I'm sure he will succeed. What can he bring to the table? Well, for sure, he can bring know-how. For sure, he can bring a lot of experience. For sure, he can bring success, which, he was in charge as a caretaker manager for 2 games, and he managed to win a cup. And last time Trabzonspor won a cup or any kind of tight silverware was about just over 10 years ago. So he obviously had a very positive effect on the players. And also, to bear this in mind, he has a direct contact with the foreign players. So, having that side of him and having the experience and dealing with the big names, there's a lot Eddie can bring to the table, and I'm so happy for him, and I'm sure he will be a very successful. He will have a very successful journey within Turkish football, and I think that will be the way for him.
Indeed. Koray, pleasure having you on. Again, I could listen to you all day talk about Turkish football. We'll resume this conversation at some point during the new season. Speak to you soon.
Absolutely, Samantha. I mean, I just hope we haven't caused any confusion.
No, never. Speak to you soon.
Take care.